Hello and welcome to another episode here on my channel. My name is Kevin Small, and today we are talking, well, not exactly about the news, but kinda. The news broke over the weekend that the initiative is now getting help for Perfect Dark from Crystal Dynamics. You can see the tweet right here. Perfect Dark update. We are partnering with Crystal Dynamics, the world-class team behind character-driven games such as Tomb Raider, to bring the first-person spy thriller to a new generation. The teams couldn't pass up a chance to work together. We are still early in development, but incredibly excited to use the unique opportunity to deliver on the vision of For Perfect Dark. Also, which might be interesting for later, and they're missing to note here, Crystal Dynamics also worked on an amazing game called Marvel Avengers. And then nothing happened. But the interesting part here, like as I said, the news itself is pretty old. Well, pretty old in internet standards, I think 2 or 3 days old. But the really interesting part happened over the weekend where people were talking about, oh no, this is not good. What? The quadruple A studio needs help from an outside source? The horror. The end times. And it's like, whoa. Okay, folks. First things first. I'm not a fan of Xbox. I'm not a fan of Microsoft. And I still hold a lot of grievance against them, especially for what they did with Mixer. But here's the thing. This, in particular, it's pretty normal. Like, for somebody who has been working in the gaming industry for over 10 years, this is quite normal. It's fascinating to me that people slowly catch on to this, even though this has been going on for nearly a decade now. Studios are looking for support studios, for partnering with other studios, or some of your big games you love and you think was developed by that particular studio was actually not. And this is what I want to talk about a little bit. Like, one of the studios who really nailed the whole support studio thing super early on was Ubisoft. Assassin's Creed Black Flag was developed by over 400 people. And when that came out, it was a shock for a lot of people. Because they couldn't imagine how there is a studio with 400 people in it. Because the whole concept of support studios was super foreign, because till that time, most games were developed by one studio alone. But game development has changed, and more ambitious games have to be finished faster and faster. Like, Ubisoft has perfected this now. Look at Call of Duty. Look at how many studios are working on every Call of Duty game. And what the game industry started to do is actually common practice in a lot of other industries out there. Let's take your iPhone. Let's just take the iPhone here, because everybody knows it. The iPhone is developed and kind of manufactured in the good old US of A, right? Like, that's where the iPhone is being made. Well, technically, because putting the iPhone together and make it an iPhone is being done in China or in Taiwan, right? And then it gets shipped all over the world. So this is why you have like a lot of more items just being like conceptualized in this and this country and then manufactured in China or wherever they manufactured it. And this whole idea took root in the gaming industry, that there is this one main studio which is basically like conceptualizing the game and also putting like the prototype together and working on the game in-house. But then they have tons of support studios they can ship the parts to. They are putting those together, and then later on those parts will be put together to the full game, which leads to its own problems, but I don't want to talk about that today because it would take too long. But the thing is, this is pretty normal. And it's not just like support studios. Like sometimes we have studios which work directly in a partnership with a game. Like, let me give you another example, which is a studio we, funny enough, talked earlier about in the live stream with Hitman. When you were asking who made Hitman, the answer is IO Interactive. And also Sumo Digital. Who? Sumo Digital. You never heard of them? Doesn't really surprise me. They are a pretty big third-party studio who does a lot of partnership work and support work. Like, they have worked on Little Big Planet, Hitman, and the list is long. Like, if you were looking up the list, you will find a lot of games you have probably played in the last few years, and you will be like, what? That's what they are doing. They are partnering with studios to work on games, and then they are like the third-party outside partnership thing. Or another wonderful example of this, there are even games which are not made by the developer you think it was made. And they are sometimes hiding that, and I find that a bit sleazy. Like, let me give you an example. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. A Nintendo game which is beloved and very well known in the gaming community. And when you are asking people, who made this game? Nintendo. No. Okay, then first party studio from Nintendo? No. It's made by Bandai Namco. Yeah, that Bandai Namco. And people are like, wait, what? No. Yeah. It's made by Bandai Namco. They're the developers of Super Smash Bros. Most people don't know that because, well, Nintendo is not telling anyone. Because they want to keep up the facade of, hey, we made that game. Another example, Luigi's Mansion 3, we just played a while ago, was not made by Nintendo. It was a third-party studio. I think they bought the studio now, which is good. But before that, it was a third-party studio which was not aligned to Nintendo in any shape or form. And they do that a lot. Nintendo has a lot of games where the game in question was not made by Nintendo. But they don't tell you about it because, well, that doesn't really would serve them a purpose. So what is happening here with the initiative and Crystal Dynamics is basically they are honest enough to tell you about this partnership instead of hiding it somewhere in the dark and then mentioning it on a website somewhere super deep hidden under additional information or whatever where nobody finds it, like some studios do. They could have done that. They didn't. They were like, you know what? Okay, let's announce this. Let's talk about it. It is curious, though. I'm not saying this is the most normal thing you will ever find. It is curious. It is not outrageous. But what is curious are two things. Yes, the initiative is a new studio, and no, it's not a quadruple A studio. The only time they talked about quadruple A was on a job site, and I assume like one of the headhunters wanted to showcase like what a high profile studio this is, and instead of like putting triple A there, they put quadruple A there in the job description. Like, you know how it goes. But this is a new studio which probably also needs help, like maybe with some animation stuff, or with like something which is relatable to what Crystal Dynamics did with Tomb Raider. And they didn't find the right people. Like, finding the right people for the positions you need for some of the games is sometimes really tough. Like, you see it when you are just looking at studios right now, which are looking for years for certain positions and they never can fill them. They still make it work, they're still putting the games together regardless, but there are a lot of games and studios where some of the positions were left open. And then they were just reaching out to like a third-party studio who actually had those people and they could help out. And I assume something similar is happening here. And even for Microsoft, this is not new. Like when you look at some of the games they have been made, some of those games were made by third-party studios, like Age of Empires 4, which is coming out super soon. It's made by Relic, which is owned by Sega. I know it's not the same thing because, well, it is entirely made by Relic. And this is a little bit different, as I said. But it's not something completely outrageous and nothing which has ever been done before. The one thing I am curious about, though, and that is the one thing I really wonder about. What the hell is going on with Crystal Dynamics then? Like, Crystal Dynamics is owned by Square Enix. Shouldn't they work on a new game? Like, how do they have the time to work on Perfect Dark? Like, seriously, this is the question I'm asking. I have no clue. I don't have an answer to this. I have some crazy ideas why there could be, but those are literally like just running my mouth and just having a crazy idea here. Like, the first thing is Crystal Dynamics worked on Marvel Avengers. And let's be real here. Marvel Avengers was a failure from a financial point. Like, it did cost money a lot for Square. Like, they admitted it themselves. When they had like the shareholder meetings, they were like, yeah, like Marvel Avengers was a complete flop. And they lost a lot of money for that. So, I said this as a joke a few days ago on Twitter, but the more I think about it, the more this might have been actually something which happened. Square Enix just saw the amount of money Microsoft would give them, and they were like, yeah, you know what? Like, here, have Crystal Dynamics for this, give us the money. We lost a lot of money thanks to them. So this is like somehow a way to get back on that money. And something else which was running through my mind, but this is totally going out on a limb. Like, this is some tinfoil hat shit, right? So we know that Marvel Avengers wasn't financially successful. And this was maybe a way for Crystal Dynamics to redeem themselves, because maybe Square Enix was actually thinking about cutting them out. And if you're like, no, they would never do that. Wouldn't they? I mean, it's the same thing with IO Interactive and Hitman. Nobody has ever thought that Square Enix would abandon the Hitman IP and IO Interactive. But they did, because they didn't make them enough money. They say they even cost them money, which, well, IO Interactive says that was not true. And looking at IO Interactive right now, they are doing apparently pretty good. They're doing pretty good with their games now. But the reality is, Square Enix did cut out IO Interactive when they had the feeling they're not making them the money they want them to do. So maybe this was like the last chance for Crystal Dynamics to make some money for Square and to redeem themselves. Again, this is tinfoil hat bullshit I'm talking right now. But look, I have seen some crazy shit in the gaming industry over the years, and I wouldn't be surprised by it. So the really intriguing part here is, why Crystal Dynamics, and why does Crystal Dynamics have the time to work on this? Like that is the bigger question than the initiative actually looking for support studios and looking for studios they can partner with to help them developing the game. Like that's nothing crazy about. But Crystal Dynamics though, I found that far more interesting why they're there. Yeah. But TLDR, this is not as crazy as some people try to make it out to be. This has become pretty normal in the gaming industry, and we will see more and more of this in the future, and I wouldn't think too much about it. With that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and you are on your way out, I would appreciate if you might leave a like. If you didn't like this video for whatever reason, well, the dislike button is right next to it. And if you're also new to the channel, you want to see more gaming news, more like opinion videos, reaction videos to big gaming events, and also tips and tricks for new upcoming games, you came to the right channel, and I would appreciate if you might consider to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to click on the bell icon, because that's the only way how you get informed when I upload a new video. And if you ever want to catch me live, you can do so from Monday to Friday, starting at 9 a.m. East Coast time, which is 2 p.m. UK time and 3 p.m. Central European time at trovo.live/chaosmob. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I see you next time. Till then, bye-bye. And stay safe.